My dear friends, I want you to clear your mind of all preconceptions. Forget everything you think you know about how the world works, about cause and effect, about struggle and achievement. For the next hour or so, I invite you to open yourself to a new understanding, a new way of being in the world that is as effortless as it is powerful. The world you see around you, the circumstances of your life, the very fabric of your reality, all of this is nothing more than an outward projection of your inner state of consciousness. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your assumptions about yourself and the world. These are the true creators of your experience. Now, many of you may have heard this before. You may even intellectually accept it as true. But tonight, I want you to go beyond mere intellectual understanding. I want you to feel this truth in the very marrow of your bones. For it is only when you truly internalize this principle that you can begin to grasp the immense power that lies dormant within you. Consider for a moment the natural world around us. Does a seed struggle to become a tree? Does it strain and push against the soil, forcing itself to grow? Of course not. The seed simply is, and in being it becomes. It contains within itself the perfect pattern of its full expression. And given the right conditions, it naturally and effortlessly grows into that expression. You, my dear friends, are no different. You too contain within you the seed of your desires, the perfect pattern of your ideal life. And just like the seed, you do not need to force your desires into being. You need only to provide the right conditions for their natural unfoldment. But what are these conditions, you may ask? They are nothing more, nothing less than your state of consciousness. Your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. These are the soil in which the seeds of your desires take root and grow. Now let us delve deeper into what it means to force things in your life. When you force, you're operating from a place of lack, of desperation. You're saying to the universe, I do not have what I want, and I must struggle and strive to get it. But in doing so, you are affirming the very lack you seek to overcome. Think about it. If you truly believe that you already possess what you desire, would you need to force it? Of course not. You would simply relax into the knowing that it is already yours. This, my friends, is the great secret, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the absolute conviction that what you desire is already yours. This is the key that unlocks the door to your desires. But how? You may wonder, can we cultivate this feeling of the wish fulfilled? How can we convince ourselves of something that does not yet appear to be true in our outer world? The answer lies in the power of your imagination. Your imagination, dear ones, is not some frivolous faculty for daydreaming. It is the very workshop in which your reality is forged. What you imagine with feeling, with conviction, becomes the blueprint that your outer world must inevitably conform to. So instead of forcing, instead of struggling and striving, I urge you to use your imagination. Create a scene in your mind that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Make it as vivid and as real as you possibly can. Engage all your senses. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the gratitude that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. This is the crucial part. You must persist in this imaginal act. You must return to it again and again, not with effort or strain, but with the calm assurance that what you're imagining is, in fact, your reality. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, surely we must take action in the world to achieve our goals. And to this I say yes, action is indeed necessary. But it is inspired action, effortless action, action that flows naturally from your changed state of consciousness. When you have truly assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will find that the right actions present themselves to you. Opportunities will appear as if by magic. The people and circumstances necessary for the realization of your desire will be drawn to you by an invisible force. This, my friends, is the law in operation. It is not something external to you, not some capricious force that must be appeased or manipulated. It is simply the way consciousness expresses itself in the world of force. Let me give you an example to illustrate this principle. Imagine a young man who desires to be wealthy. If he operates from a consciousness of lack, he might force himself to work long hours. to scrimp and save every penny to pursue get-rich-quick schemes. He might even achieve a measure of financial success through these methods. But at what cost? His life becomes a constant struggle, a never-ending battle against scarcity. But suppose this same young man were to change his consciousness. Suppose he were to assume the feeling of being wealthy. He would imagine himself living in abundance, enjoying financial freedom, sharing his wealth generously. He would persist in this assumption until it became a conviction, a knowing. What would happen then? He might be inspired to start a business that aligns perfectly with his talents and passions. He might encounter a mentor who guides him to lucrative opportunities. He might even receive an unexpected inheritance or windfall. The specifics don't matter. What matters is that his outer world would inevitably conform to his inner conviction of wealth. All of this would unfold naturally, effortlessly. There would be no need for force, no need for struggle. The young man would simply follow the path that naturally opens up before him, guided by his inner knowing of abundance. This, my dear friends, is what I mean when I say don't force anything. It's not about passivity or inaction. It's about aligning yourself with the natural flow of life, with the law that governs all things. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, what about the challenges and obstacles we face in life? Surely we must overcome these through effort and struggle. You call challenges and obstacles are nothing more than the outpicturing of your own limiting beliefs and assumptions. When you force against these apparent obstacles, you are in fact reinforcing the very consciousness that created them. You are saying to the universe, yes, this is real, this is solid, this is something I must fight against. And in doing so, you give it even more power over you. But what if, instead of forcing against these obstacles, you were to simply assume that they do not exist? What if you were to live from the assumption that the path to your desire is clear and open? You would find, much to your amazement, that the obstacles dissolve of their own accord, or that solutions present themselves with ease and grace. Remember, my friends, the outer world is nothing more than a shadow, a reflection of your inner state. Change the inner, and the outer must follow. Now let's consider another aspect of this principle of not forcing. Many of you, in your quest for spiritual growth and understanding, may have encountered teachings that emphasize discipline, effort, and control. You may have been told that you must force yourself to think positive thoughts, that you must struggle against negative emotions, that you must exert iron control over your mind. But I say to you, this too is a form of forcing, and it is ultimately counterproductive. For in attempting to control your thoughts and emotions through sheer willpower, you are implicitly affirming their power over you. You are saying these thoughts, these emotions are real and powerful. Instead, I urge you to simply observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, without resistance. See them for what they are, temporary states of consciousness that have no power other than that which you give them. And then gently but firmly, turn your attention to the state you wish to embody. This is not forcing, but allowing. Is not struggle, but surrender to your true self, to the God within you that is the source of all creation. Let me share with you a personal experience that illustrates this principle. Many years ago, when I first began to explore these truths, I found myself in dire financial straits. Bills were piling up, creditors were calling, and I could see no way out of my predicament. My first instinct was to force a solution. I worked longer hours, I scrimped and saved, I worried and fretted, but the more I forced, the worse my situation became. It was as if the universe was conspiring against me, closing every door I tried to push open. Then, in a moment of quiet desperation, I remembered the truth I had been studying. I realized that my outer circumstances were merely a reflection of my inner state of lack and limitation. And in that moment, I made a decision to change my inner. Instead of focusing on my apparent lack, I began to imagine myself as financially secure. I created a scene in my imagination where I was paying my bills with ease, where money flowed to me abundantly, where I lived in a state of joyful prosperity. At first, it felt like pretending, but I persisted. Night after night, I would fall asleep in this imaginal scene. I would carry the feeling of financial abundance with me throughout my day. I refused to be moved by the apparent facts of my outer world. And then, my friends, the miracle occurred. Within a matter of weeks, my financial situation began to change. A business opportunity presented itself that I would never have noticed in my previous state of consciousness. Money began to flow from unexpected sources. Before I knew it, all my debts were paid, and I was living in the very state of prosperity I had imagined. None of this required force or struggle on my part. Once I had changed my inner state, the outer circumstances of my life rearranged themselves naturally, effortlessly, to match that state. All I had to do was to follow the promptings of my intuition, to take the inspired actions that naturally arose from my new state of consciousness. This, my dear friends, is the power that lies within each and every one of you. You do not need to force your good into being. You need only to assume the feeling of already being, doing, or having that which you desire. The rest will follow as naturally as day follows night. Now, I can sense that some of you may be struggling with this concept. You may be thinking, but Neville, I've tried to imagine my desires as fulfilled, and nothing has changed. Am I doing something wrong? Be patient with yourself. Remember, you are undoing a lifetime of habitual thinking and feeling. You are challenging deeply ingrained beliefs about the nature of reality itself. This is no small task, and it may take time and persistence. But do not mistake persistence for force. Persistence is simply the consistent application of a principle. It is returning again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not with strain or effort, but with calm assurance. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, you dig it up every day to see if it's growing. Of course not. You trust in the natural process of growth. You provide the right conditions, water, sunlight, fertile soil, and then you allow the seed to do what it naturally does. Your desires are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Provide the right conditions, the feeling of fulfillment, the assumption of already being what you wish to be, and then allow the natural process of manifestation to unfold. This allowing, this trust in the law, is the very opposite of forcing. It is a state of relaxed awareness, of knowing that what is yours must inevitably come to you. Now, let us address another common misconception. Some of you may be thinking, but Neville, if I don't force things, if I don't strive and struggle, won't I become lazy and unproductive? My dear friends, nothing could be further from the truth. When you align yourself with the law, when you live from the state of the wish fulfilled, you will find yourself more energized, more inspired, more productive than ever before. But it will be a different kind of productivity. It will not be the frantic activity of someone driven by fear and lack. It will be the joyful, purposeful activity of someone who knows their own power, who trusts in the perfect unfoldment of their good. You see, when you force, you are operating from your limited egoic self. You are trying to make things happen through sheer willpower. But when you allow, when you trust in the law, you are aligning yourself with the infinite power of your true self, of the God within you. And this power, my friends, is limitless. It knows no bounds. It can accomplish in a moment what might take years of forced effort. But it operates according to spiritual principles, not material ones. It responds not to your actions, but to your state of consciousness. So I urge you, let go of the need to force. Let go of the belief that struggle and strain are necessary for achievement. Instead, cultivate the art of allowing. Learn to live in the state of the wish fulfilled, no matter what your outer circumstances may be telling you. This is not always easy, I know. The world around you may seem to contradict your inner knowing at every turn. But remember, the outer world is only a shadow. It is your inner world that is the reality, the causative force. Stand firm in your assumption. No matter what the evidence of your senses may tell you, no matter what others may say, hold fast to the truth of your imaginal act. For it is this, and this alone, that has the power to reshape your world. Now, let me address a question that often arises when I speak of these principles. Some of you may be wondering, but Neville, what about the suffering in the world? What about injustice and inequality? Surely we must take action to change these things. We must take action. But it must be inspired action, action that springs from a changed consciousness. For if we act from the same consciousness that created these conditions, we will only perpetuate them, no matter how noble our intentions. If you wish to change the world, my friends, you must first change yourself. You must first embody the change you wish to see. For the outer world is nothing more than a reflection of the inner states of the collective consciousness. Imagine a world where every individual understood and applied these principles. Imagine a world where each person lived from the state of their wish fulfilled, where no one felt the need to force or struggle or compete. Can you see how radically different such a world would be? This, my dear friends, is the great work to which we are all called. It is not a work of outer reform, but of inner transformation. It is not a work of force, but of allowing the divine pattern within each of us to unfold naturally and perfectly. And make no mistake, this work begins with you. Right here, right now. In this very moment, you have the power to change your world by changing your consciousness. You have the power to let go of force and embrace the art of allowing. So I challenge you, my friends. For the next week, commit to living from the state of your wish fulfilled. Choose one desire, one change you wish to see in your life. Create a scene that implies the fulfillment of this desire. Make it as vivid and as real as you can. Then every night before you sleep, enter into this scene. Feel it, live it, make it so real that when you open your eyes, you're almost surprised to find yourself back in your present circumstances. But don't stop there. Carry the feeling of fulfillment with you throughout your day. No matter what your outer world shows you, hold fast to your inner knowing. Don't force, don't struggle, simply allow. And watch, my friends, watch how your world begins to change. Watch how doors open that you never knew existed. Watch how the very circumstances of your life rearrange themselves to match your new state of consciousness. This is the law in action. This is the power that has been given to you, that lies dormant within you, waiting to be awakened. Remember, you are not some helpless victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of external forces. You are the operant power in your world. You are the God of your universe, creating your reality with every thought, every feeling, every assumption. So choose wisely, my friends. Choose to live from the end. Choose to embody the state of your wish fulfilled. Choose to trust in the law, to allow your good to flow to you naturally and effortlessly. For in this choice lies your freedom. In this choice lies your power. In this choice lies the key to creating the life you truly desire. And as we come to the close of our talk this evening, I want to leave you with one final thought. The principle we've discussed, don't force anything, is not just a technique for manifesting your desires. It is a way of life, a state of being that aligns you with the very rhythm of the universe. When you cease to force, when you learn to allow, you open yourself to the infinite intelligence that pervades all things. You become a channel through which the divine can express itself in the world. And in this state of allowance, of surrender to your highest self, you will find a peace and a joy that no outer circumstance can shake. You will move through life with grace and ease, knowing that all is well, that all is unfolding perfectly according to the divine pattern within you. So go forth, my dear friends, and apply what you have learned. Let go of force. Embrace the art of allowing and watch as miracles unfold in your life. For you are the miracle, you are the power, you are the divine made manifest. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
I speak to you about the divine power of living alone, the magnificent state of being complete within yourself. Now you may think this contradicts what society has taught you about relationships and marriage, but I tell you with complete conviction, living alone is one of the highest states a being can achieve. Let me be perfectly clear. When I speak of living alone, I am not speaking of mere physical solitude. I speak of that glorious state of consciousness where you recognize that you are complete, whole, and perfect exactly as you are. For you see, the world has sold you a lie, a magnificent deception that you need another to be complete. But I tell you now, you are already complete, for you contain within yourself all the powers of God. Consider the first words in Scripture about man. Let us make man in our image. Notice it doesn't say, let us make man and then give him someone else to make him complete. No, man was created complete, whole, perfect, in the image of God. This is your natural state, your divine inheritance. Many of you come to me speaking of loneliness, of emptiness, of the need for partnership. But I tell you now, these feelings arise not from being alone, but from not recognizing your own completeness. You are seeking outside yourself what can only be found within. The kingdom of heaven is within you, not in another person. Let me share with you a principle that I have tested and proven countless times. The state of living alone, when properly understood and embraced, is the most powerful state of consciousness you can occupy. For in this state, you are not divided. Your energy is not scattered. Your focus is not diluted. You are one with yourself, one with God. Consider this. When you are in a relationship, where does your focus go? It goes to the other person, their needs, their wants, their moods, their expectations. But when you live alone, properly understanding this state, your focus remains on the only creative power in existence, your own wonderful human imagination. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this selfish? Aren't we meant to share our lives with others? Let me be very clear, there is no other. What you see as others are aspects of yourself pushed out. Therefore, when you focus on your own completeness, you are actually expressing the highest form of love, the recognition of the divine in yourself. I think about the great mystics and prophets throughout history. Did they not often retreat into solitude? Did they not find their greatest revelations when alone? This was not by accident, my dear friends. They understood this principle that I share with you tonight, that in solitude we find our true power. Let me explain this further. When you live alone, properly understanding this state, you are not running from relationships. You are not hiding from love. Instead, you are claiming your divine birthright of completeness. You are saying to the universe, I am complete. I am whole. I am sufficient unto myself. Consider the words of Scripture. Be still and know that I am God. Notice it doesn't say, be still and know that we are God, or be still and find someone else to make you God. No, it speaks of that individual recognition of your own divine nature. This recognition comes most powerfully in solitude. Many of you spend your days seeking completion in relationships, seeking happiness in partnerships, seeking fulfillment in romantic connections. But I tell you now, this is like seeking water in a desert mirage. The water you seek is within you. The love you seek is within you. The completion you seek is within you. Let me share with you a profound truth that most of the world has missed. When you truly embrace living alone, you experience a freedom that no relationship can provide. This is not the freedom to do whatever you want, though that certainly comes with it. This is the freedom to be whoever you truly are, without the distortions and compromises that relationships often demand. Think about it. In a relationship, how much of yourself do you compromise? How many of your dreams do you modify? How many of your desires do you suppress? But when you live alone, embracing the state fully, you are free to be exactly who you are, to pursue exactly what you desire, to live exactly as you choose. This is not about being selfish or uncaring. Rather, it is about being true to your divine nature. For how can you truly love others if you are not first true to yourself? How can you give freely if you are constantly compromising your own truth? Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state of living alone, when properly understood, is the most powerful manifestation state you can occupy. For in this state, your imagination is not cluttered with the thoughts, beliefs, and limitations of others. Your creative power flows purely and directly. Consider this when you are in a relationship. How often do you modify your imaginal acts based on what your partner might think or want? How often do you limit your dreams to accommodate their reality? But when you live alone, your imagination is free to soar to whatever heights it chooses. Many of you fear living alone because you have been taught that it means being lonely. But I tell you now, loneliness is a state of consciousness, not a circumstance. You can be surrounded by people and feel intensely lonely, or you can be completely alone and feel deeply connected to all of life.
The secret is this: when you truly embrace living alone, you discover that you are never truly alone. For you are one with God, one with all of creation. This is not a philosophical concept. This is a living reality that you can experience when you properly understand and embrace solitude.
Think of it this way: every great invention, every magnificent work of art, every profound spiritual revelation, these not come from individuals who were willing to be alone with their thoughts, alone with their imagination, alone with their God. This is not coincidence, my dear friends. This is law. Let me share with you another truth that many find difficult to accept. Relationships often serve as distractions from your true purpose. They can become comfortable hiding places where you never have to face yourself, never have to grow, never have to become who you truly are. But when you live alone, properly understanding this state, you have no choice but to face yourself. You have no choice but to grow. You have no choice but to become who you truly are. This is why many fear solitude, because it forces them to confront their own divine nature. Consider the story of Jesus going into the wilderness for 40 days. This was not a punishment. This was not a hardship. This was a necessary step in claiming his divine nature. The wilderness, the solitude, was not an obstacle to overcome. It was the very means of his transformation. Many of you have been taught that relationships are the path to growth, to learning, to becoming better people. But I tell you now, while relationships can certainly teach us things, the deepest growth, the most profound learning, the most complete transformation always happens in solitude. Think about it: when you are constantly in relationship, constantly adjusting to another's presence, constantly accommodating another's reality, how can you truly know yourself? How can you truly hear your own inner voice? How can you truly follow your own divine guidance? Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state of living alone, when properly understood, is the most powerful healing state you can occupy. For in this state, you are not taking on the energies, the emotions, the problems of others. You are free to focus entirely on your own healing, your own growth, your own transformation. Consider this: when you are in a relationship, how much of your energy goes to managing the other person's moods? How much of your time is spent dealing with their issues? How much of your attention is diverted from your own healing journey? But when you live alone, all of that energy, all of that time, all of that attention can be focused on your own growth and healing. Many of you fear living alone because you have been taught that we need others to heal, to grow, to become whole. But I tell you now, while others can certainly support our healing journey, the deepest healing always happens in solitude, in that sacred space where it's just you and God. Think of it this way: when you break a bone, yes, doctors can set it, friends can support you, but the actual healing happens within your own body. No one else can do that healing for you. In the same way, your deepest emotional and spiritual healing can only happen within you, in the silence of your own being. Let me share with you another truth that society often tries to deny. Relationships often create more problems than they solve. They often bring more complexity than clarity, more confusion than certainty, more distraction than direction. But when you live alone, properly understanding this state, life becomes remarkably simple. Your decisions are your own. Your time is your own. Your energy is your own. The simplicity is not a limitation. It is a profound freedom that allows you to focus entirely on your divine purpose. Consider the great spiritual teachers throughout history. Yes, they interacted with others, they taught others, they loved others, but their power, their clarity, their connection to divine truth came from their willingness to be alone, to be complete within themselves. Many of you spend your lives seeking the perfect relationship, the perfect partner, the perfect connection. But I tell you now, what you are really seeking is your own perfection, your own completeness, your own divine nature. And this can only be found within yourself. Think about it. How many relationships have you entered hoping they would make you happy, make you complete, make you whole? And how many times has this strategy failed? This is because you are seeking outside yourself what can only be found within. Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state of living alone, when properly understood, is the most powerful creative state you can occupy. For in this state, your creative energy is not divided, not compromised, not diluted by the needs and demands of relationship. Consider this. When you are in a relationship, how much of your creative energy goes into maintaining the relationship itself? How much of your creative power is spent on managing the dynamics, handling the conflicts, navigating the compromises? But when you live alone, all of that creative energy can be directed toward your divine purpose. Many of you fear living alone because you have been taught that creativity flourishes in relationship, in connection, in partnership. But I tell you now, while collaboration can certainly produce wonderful things, the most profound creativity always emerges from solitude, from that sacred space where you are one with your own imagination. Think of it this way: every great book, every magnificent symphony, every profound philosophical insight, these came not from committees or relationships, but from individuals who were willing to spend long hours alone with their thoughts, alone with their creativity, alone with their God. Let me share with you another truth that many find difficult to accept. Relationships often drain our energy rather than enhance it. They often deplete our resources rather than multiply them. They often diminish our power rather than amplify it. But when you live alone, properly understanding this state, your energy remains intact. Your resources remain your own. Your power remains undiluted. This is not selfishness. This is stewardship of your divine gifts. Consider the words of Scripture. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his own soul? I tell you now, many relationships cause exactly this: a losing of oneself in the attempt to gain or maintain connection with another. Many of you have been taught that relationships are necessary for growth, for learning, for becoming who you are meant to be. But I tell you now, while relationships can certainly teach us things, the most profound growth, the deepest learning, the most complete becoming always happens in solitude. Think about it: when you are constantly adjusting to another's presence, constantly accommodating another's reality, constantly compromising your own truth, how can you truly grow in meant you are meant to be? How can you truly hear your own inner guidance? How can you truly follow your own divine path? Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state of living alone, when properly understood, is the most powerful manifestation state you can occupy. For in this state, your manifestation energy is not divided, not compromised, not diluted by the needs and desires of others. Consider this: when you are in a relationship, how often do you modify your desires to accommodate your partner? How often do you compromise your dreams to maintain harmony? How often do you settle for less than what you truly want? Because it's easier than dealing with conflict. But when you live alone, your desires remain pure. Your dreams remain intact. Your manifestations remain undiluted. This is not selfishness. This is alignment with your divine nature. Think of it this way: every great achievement, every magnificent creation, every profound breakthrough, these came not from compromise or consensus, but from individuals who were willing to stand alone in their vision, alone in their purpose, alone in their truth. Let me share with you another truth that society often tries to deny. Relationships often create more limitation than liberation. They often bring more constraint than freedom, more obligation than opportunity, more burden than blessing. But when you live alone, properly understanding this state, you are truly free. Free to pursue your dreams without compromise. Free to follow your guidance without explanation. Free to be who you truly are without apology. Consider the great innovators throughout history. Yes, they may have had teams and supporters, but their greatest innovations came from their willingness to stand alone in their vision, to trust their own imagination, to follow their own guidance. Many of you spend your lives seeking security in relationships, seeking safety in partnerships, seeking stability in connections with others. But I tell you now, the only true security, the only real safety, the only lasting stability comes from your connection with your own divine nature. Think about it. How many relationships have you entered seeking security, only to find more insecurity? How many partnerships have you formed seeking safety, only to find more danger? How many connections have you made seeking stability, only to find more chaos? This is because you are seeking outside yourself what can only be found within. The security you seek is not in another person, it is in your recognition of your own divine nature. The safety you desire is not in a relationship, it is in your connection with your own IAN. Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state of living alone, when properly understood, is the most powerful, abundant state you can occupy. For in this state, your resources are not divided, not compromised, not diluted by the needs and demands of relationship. Consider this: when you are in a relationship, how much of your abundance goes to maintaining the relationship itself? How much of your resources are spent on managing the dynamics, handling the compromises, navigating the conflicts? But when you live alone, all of those resources can be directed toward your divine purpose. Many of you fear living alone because you have been taught that abundance comes through partnership, through sharing, through combining resources with another. But I tell you now, while sharing can certainly multiply abundance, the most profound abundance always flows from your recognition of your own completeness. Think of it this way: every great fortune, every magnificent empire, every profound legacy, these came not from relationships or partnerships, but from individuals who are willing to stand alone in their vision, alone in their purpose, alone in their truth. Let me share with you another truth that many find difficult to accept. Relationships often create more scarcity than abundance. They often bring more limitation than expansion, more constraint than freedom, more obligation than opportunity. But when you live alone, properly understanding this state, you experience true abundance. Not just material abundance, though that certainly comes, but the abundance of being fully yourself, of living fully your truth, of expressing fully your divine nature. Consider the words of Scripture: seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. The kingdom of heaven is not in another person, it is within you. When you seek it there, everything else naturally falls into place. Many of you have been taught that relationships are necessary for success, for achievement, for creating the life you desire. But I tell you now, while relationships can certainly support our success, the most profound achievements, the greatest successes, the most complete creations always come from our willingness to stand alone in our truth. Think about it: when you are constantly adjusting to another's presence, constantly accommodating another's reality, constantly compromising your own vision, how can you truly create what you are meant to create? How can you truly achieve what you are meant to achieve? How can you truly succeed in your divine purpose? Let me share with you another principle that I have tested and proven. The state of living alone, when properly understood, is the most powerful peace state you can occupy. For in this state, your peace is not dependent on another's mood, not compromised by another's stress, not diluted by another's chaos. Consider this: when you are in a relationship, how much of your peace is disturbed by your partner's moods? How much of your tranquility is disrupted by their stress? How much of your serenity is compromised by their chaos? But when you live alone, your peace remains intact. Your tranquility remains undisturbed. Your serenity remains complete. Many of you fear living alone because you have been taught that peace comes through relationship, through sharing your life with another. But I tell you now, while relationships can certainly bring moments of peace, the most profound peace, the deepest tranquility, the most complete serenity always comes from within. Think of it this way: every great sage, every magnificent teacher, every profound master, did they not find their greatest peace in solitude? Did they not discover their deepest wisdom in silence? It is the secret of making the universe respond to your desires, of shaping reality itself through the power of your imagination. Now I know what some of you may be thinking. Never, you might say, how can this be possible? How can my mere thoughts and imaginings affect the solid, tangible world around me? And to that I say, not only is it possible, it is the very foundation of all creation, the bedrock upon which our entire existence is built. You see, my dear friends, the world you perceive around you, the chair you're sitting on, the air you're breathing, the thoughts of the person next to you, all of it is nothing more than a reflection of your own consciousness. The universe in all its infinite wisdom and glory is responding moment by moment to the state of your imagination, to the assumptions you hold about yourself and the world. Let me be clear, when I speak of imagination, I'm not referring to idle daydreams or fleeting fantasies. No, I am speaking of something far more profound, far more fundamental to your being. Your imagination, properly understood and applied, is your very self. It is God in action within you. It is in essence the creative power of the universe focused through the lens of your individual consciousness. Now I can see the skepticism in some of your eyes. You're wondering if this is true. Why isn't my life perfect? Why do I face challenges and setbacks? And to that I say, because you are yet fully awakened to your true nature, to the immense power that lies dormant within you. You see, most people go through life believing they are at the mercy of external circumstances. They believe that their lives are shaped by forces beyond their control, by their upbringing, their environment, their genes, or even by some capricious deity who doles out blessings and curses at will. But I am here to tell you with absolute certainty that nothing could be further from the truth. You, my dear friends, are the operant power in your life. You are the one who shapes your reality, who determines your fate. And you do this not through your actions in the outer world, but through the states you occupy in your imagination. Now let me explain what I mean by states. A state is a mindset, a way of being, a particular arrangement of your consciousness. When you embody a state, be it one of wealth, health, love, or success, you are in that moment, that very thing. And here's the crucial point. The outer world has no choice but to conform to the state you have assumed. This, my friends, is the law that governs all creation. It is immutable, unchanging, and it operates with perfect precision in every moment of your existence. The world is nothing more than a mirror, faithfully reflecting back to you the state you have assumed. But here's where most people stumble. They look at their current circumstances, at the limitations and lack in their lives, and they assume that this is their reality. They accept it as an unchangeable fact, not realizing that by doing so, they are perpetuating those very conditions. You see, the secret to changing your life, to making the universe respond, lies in your ability to disregard the evidence of your senses and instead live from the end. What do I mean by this? I mean that you must have the courage and the imagination to see your desires already fulfilled, to experience in your mind the joy and satisfaction of your wish realized. This, my friends, is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the cornerstone of all successful manifestation, the key that unlocks the infinite potential of your imagination. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, how can I possibly feel something that isn't true? How can I convince myself of a reality that doesn't exist? And to that I say, you are already doing it every moment of your life. Every belief you hold, every assumption you make about yourself and the world is nothing more than an act of imagination that you have accepted as truth. The only difference is that most people imagine unconsciously, allowing their minds to be shaped by past experiences and current circumstances. But you, my dear friends, have the power to imagine consciously, to deliberately choose the states you will occupy. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Imagine a man who desires wealth. He looks at his current bank balance, at the bills piling up on his desk, and he feels poor. He walks down the street, sees luxury cars and expensive shops, and he feels lack. In every moment he is affirming his poverty, he is assuming the state of being poor. Now contrast this with a man who understands the power of imagination. This man, regardless of his current circumstances, chooses to assume the state of wealth. When he walks down that same street, he doesn't see things he can't afford. He sees evidence of abundance that is already his. When he looks at his bills, he feels gratitude for the services he's received and the ability to pay for them. In his imagination, he feels the crisp texture of large bills in his wallet. He experiences the peace of mind that comes with financial security. He savors the freedom to live as he chooses, to help others, to pursue his passions without concern for money. Which of these men do you think is more likely to manifest actual wealth in the outer world? The answer, of course, is clear. The universe can only respond to the state you occupy, to the assumptions you hold about yourself and your place in the world. Now I want to address a common misconception. Some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this just positive thinking? Isn't this just fooling myself? And to that I say, absolutely not. What I'm describing goes far beyond mere positive thinking or affirmations. You see, positive thinking operates on the level of the conscious mind. It's an attempt to override negative thoughts with more positive ones. But the power I'm speaking of, the power to make the universe respond, operates at a much deeper level. It's not about thinking positively, it's about being positively. When you truly assume a state in your imagination, when you occupy it fully, you are not fooling yourself. You are in that moment actually becoming the person who has what you desire. You are shifting your entire consciousness, aligning yourself with the reality you wish to experience. This is why simply repeating affirmations or visualizing your desires often falls short. These techniques can be useful, but they're not enough on their own. To truly change your life, to make the universe respond, you must feel the reality or desire. You must experience it so vividly in your imagination. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Neville, you might say, I've tried this. I've imagined what I want. I've tried to feel it real, but nothing has changed. And to that I say persistence is key. Remember, you are undoing a lifetime of habitual thinking and feeling. You are dismantling deeply ingrained beliefs about yourself and the world. This is not always an easy process. It requires dedication, it requires faith, and above all, it requires persistence. You must be willing to maintain your assumed state, even when all evidence points to the contrary. You must have courage to disregard the world of shadows and live fully in the world of imagination. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this point. I once knew a woman who desperately wanted to be married. She had been single for years, and despite her best efforts, she couldn't seem to find the right partner. She came to me frustrated and disheartened, asking for help. I instructed her to imagine every night before sleep that she was already married to the perfect partner. I told her to feel the ring on her finger, to experience the warmth of her lover's embrace, to hear the words of love and commitment whispered in her ear. At first she found this difficult. Her loneliness and frustration kept intruding on her imaginal scene, but she persisted. Night after night, she lived in her imagination as a happily married woman. And slowly, something began to change. She noticed that she felt different during the day. She carried herself with more confidence. She interacted with men differently, free from the desperation that had previously colored her interactions. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, she met someone. The relationship blossomed quickly, and within a year she was married to a man who matched perfectly the one she had been imagining. Now, some might call this a coincidence, but I assure you it was anything but. This woman had changed her state, had shifted her consciousness, and the universe had no choice but to respond in kind. This, my dear friends, is the power that lies within each and every one of you. The power to shape your reality, to mold the universe itself through the power of your imagination. But let me be clear, this is not about controlling others or manipulating external circumstances. The only thing you can ever change is yourself. But when you change yourself, when you shift your state, when you assume a new way of being, the entire world reshapes itself to match your new self-concept. Now, I want to address another important point. Some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what about action? Don't we need to do something in the outer world to make our desires a reality? And to that I say, inspired action will flow naturally from your assumed state. You see, when you truly occupy a state of the wish fulfilled, when you live from the end, your actions in the outer world will naturally align with your desire. You won't have to force yourself to take action. You won't have to push against resistance. Instead, you'll find yourself naturally drawn to take the right actions at the right time. This is because your outer world is nothing more than an expression of your inner state. When you change your state, your perception changes and new opportunities become visible to you. Doors that were previously closed suddenly open. People and circumstances that can help you achieve your desire are drawn into your life, as if by magic. But remember, the action is not the cause of your manifestation, it is the result. The true cause is always the state you occupy in your imagination. This is why two people can take the same actions in the outer world and achieve vastly different results. It's not the action itself that determines the outcome, but the state from which the action springs. Now let's delve deeper into the mechanics of how this process works. Using your subconscious mind, which is really your connection to the infinite intelligence of the universe, doesn't distinguish between what you imagine vividly and what you experience in the outer world. To your subconscious, they are one and the same. This is why your imaginal acts are so powerful. When you imagine something vividly, when you occupy a state fully in your imagination, your subconscious accepts it as reality. And once your subconscious accepts something as real, it goes to work to make it so in your outer world. This is not some mystical or supernatural process, as it's simply the way consciousness operates. Your consciousness is the only reality. What you assume to be true, what you believe in the depths of your being, must be expressed in your outer world. This is an inviolable law of consciousness. Now, I want to address a question that often arises when I speak about these principles. Some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what about other people? How can my imagination affect them? And to that I say, there are no others. I know this might sound strange, even solipsistic, but bear with me. You see, the people in your life, the circumstances you encounter, are all of you pushed out. They are reflections of your consciousness, expressions of your assumptions and beliefs. This doesn't mean that other people don't exist or that they don't have free will, but it does mean that your experience of them, your interactions with them, are shaped by your consciousness. Change your consciousness and your experience of others will change too. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Imagine a man who believes that people are generally unfriendly, unhelpful. As he goes about his day, he encounters people who seem to confirm this belief. The cashier at the store is curt with him. His co-workers are distant strangers on the street, avoid eye contact. Now imagine this same man decides to change his assumption. He begins to imagine that people are friendly and eager to help. He feels this new assumption as true. He occupies this new state fully in his imagination. And suddenly his experiences begin to change. The same cashier smiles and strikes up a friendly conversation. His co-workers become more open and collaborative. Strangers on the street offer warm smiles. Has the world suddenly changed? Have all these people suddenly become different? Of course not. What has changed is the man's consciousness. And as a result, his perception and experience of the world has shifted. This, my dear friends, is the true power of your imagination. It's not just about manifesting material things or achieving specific goals. It's about shaping your entire experience of reality. It's about becoming the proton to be, about living in the world you want to inhabit. Now I want to address another important aspect of this work. Some of you might be wondering about the role of desire in this process. You might be asking, Neville, where do our desires come from? And how do we know which desires to pursue? To that I say, your desires are not random. They are not arbitrary whims, fancies. Your desires are messages from your higher self, from the God within you. They are invitations to grow, to expand, to more fully express your divine nature. When you feel a genuine desire, not a selfish want, but a deep, heartfelt longing, that is God's way of telling you what's possible for you. It's a preview of a potential reality that you have the power to manifest. This is why it is so important to honor your desires, to take them seriously. When you dismiss your desires as impossible or unworthy, you are turning your back on your own divinity. You are rejecting the gift that the universe is offering you. But here's the crucial point. The fulfillment of your desire is not the ultimate goal. The real pulse of your desire is to lead you to a new state of being, to a new level of consciousness. The outer manifestation is simply a guide. You have successfully shifted your state. This is why it's so important to focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, rather than on the specific details of how it will come about. When you imagine your desire as fulfilled, When you occupy that state fully, you are aligning yourself with the essence of what you want. And often the universe will surprise you by bringing your desire to pass in ways far more wonderful than you could have planned. Now, I want to address a common concern that arises when people begin to work with these principles. Some of you might be thinking, but Neville, what if I imagine something and it doesn't happen? What if I assume a state and nothing changes? To that I say, have patience and above all of that faith. Remember, you are working with the very substance of the universe. You are engaging with the fundamental laws of creation. This is not always an instantaneous process. Sometimes the seed you plant in your imagination will sprout quickly, manifesting in your outer world in a matter of days or weeks. Other times it may take longer. But make no mistake, once you have planted that seed, once you have truly occupied a state, in your imagination, the wheels of creation are set in motion. Your manifestation is inevitable, as long as you maintain your faith and persist in your assumption. This is where many people falter. They imagine their desire, they try to feel it real, but when they don't see immediate results, they give up. They return to their old state, their old assumptions, and then wonder why nothing has changed. But I assure you, my dear friends, that every imaginal act you perform is fruitful. Every state you occupy leaves its mark on your subconscious. Even if you don't see immediate results, trust that your imagination is doing its work. Trust that the universe is rearranging itself to match your new set. This trust, this unwavering faith is crucial. You must have faith in the law, faith in the power of your imagination. But more than that, you must have faith in yourself, in your divine nature, in your ability to create your reality. Now let's talk about how to practically apply these principles in your daily life. The first step is to choose your state. What is it that you truly desire? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to live? Once you've identified your desire, create a scene that implies its fulfillment. This scene should be short, simple, and easy to repeat. It should capture the essence of your desire, the feeling of it being realized. For example, if your desire is for a loving relationship, you might imagine hearing a loved one say, "I'm so happy we're together." Feel the warmth of their embrace, the love in their voice. Make it as vivid and real as possible. If your desire is for financial abundance, you might imagine looking at your bank statement and seeing a balance that thrills you. Feel the sense of security, the freedom that comes with financial abundance. Whatever you're seeing, the key is to make it feel real. Engage all your senses. Don't just see it, hear it, feel it, smell it. Taste it if appropriate. The more real you can make it in your imagination, the more powerful it will be. Now here's the crucial part. You must enter this scene as if it were happening now, not as a future event, not as something you hope will happen, but as a present reality. You must feel the naturalness of it, the sense that, of course, this is your reality. I recommend practicing this imaginal scene every night as you fall asleep. You see, sleep is a powerful time for impressing your subconscious mind. As you drift off to sleep, your conscious mind relaxes its hold, allowing your imaginal scene to sink deep into your subconscious. But don't limit yourself to nighttime. Throughout your day, whenever one moment, return to your scene. Feel the reality of it. Let the feeling of your wish fulfilled permeate your entire being. Now I want to address another important point. Some of you might be wondering about negative thoughts and doubts. You might be asking, Neville, what if I can't stop my negative thoughts? What if I doubt whether this will work? To that I say, don't fight your negative thoughts. Don't try to force them away. Instead, simply return to your imaginal scene. Return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You see, what you resist persists, but what you accept and then replace fades away. Your negative thoughts or doubts are simply habits of mind. They are old states that you've occupied for so long that they feel natural to you. But remember, you have the power to choose your state. You have the power to decide what you will accept as real. When doubts arise, when negative thoughts intrude, simply acknowledge them and then gently return to your chosen state. Say to yourself, there's that old thought again. But I know the truth. I know what's real. And then immerse yourself once more in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Over time, as you persist in your new state, these old thoughts and doubts will fade away. They'll lose their power over you. You'll find it easier and easier to maintain your chosen state, to live from the end. Now let's talk about something that many people struggle with, letting go. You see, there's a seeming paradox in this work. On one hand, you must live from the state of your wish fulfilled, feeling it as real and present. On the other hand, you must let go of attachment to the outcome. This can be challenging. How can you feel something as real and yet not be attached to it? The key is to understand that your job is not to make your desire happen. Your job is simply to occupy the state. The manifestation, the outer fulfillment, is not your concern. That's the job of the universe. When you truly live from the end, when you fully occupy your desired state, you no longer feel a sense of lack or need. You're not actually waiting for your desire to manifest, because in your imagination it already has. You're simply enjoying the state, savoring the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is true detachment. It's not about not caring whether your desire manifests. It's about knowing that it has already manifested on the level of imagination, which is the only reality. The outer world has no choice but to conform to this inner reality in divine timing and divine order. Now, I want to address a question that often arises when I speak about these principles. Some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what about morality? What if someone uses this power for selfish or harmful purposes? To that, I say the law is neutral. Like gravity doesn't distinguish between what we might consider good or bad. It simply responds to the state we occupy. I assure you that when you truly understand and apply these principles, you will have no desire to harm others or to act selfishly. You see, as you begin to experience your own divine nature, as you realize your oneness with all of creation, your desires naturally align with the highest good. You begin to understand that what blesses one blesses all, that there is no separation between you and others. Moreover, you realize that you don't need to take from others to have what you want. You don't need to compete or struggle. You simply need to assume the state of having or being what you desire, and the universe will respond accordingly. This understanding leads to a profound shift in consciousness. You move from a mindset of lack and limitation to one of abundance and infinite possibility. You realize that there is more than enough for everyone, that one person's gain doesn't have to mean another's loss. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a final thought. The principles I've shared with you today are not new. They are as old as consciousness itself. They have been taught by mystics and sages throughout the ages, often veiled in symbolic language. What I've attempted to do is to present these timeless truths in a clear, practical way that you can apply in your daily life. But remember, the real proof of these principles lies not in my words, but in your experience. I encourage you, my dear friends, to test these ideas for yourself. Choose a safe side. Create your scene and live from that state. Persist even when outer appearances seem to contradict your imaginal act. Have faith in the law. Have faith in your own divine nature. And as you do this, as you begin to experience the power of your imagination to shape your reality, you will undergo profound transformation. You will begin to understand, not just intellectually but experientially, that you are the operant power in your life. You will realize that the universe is not something separate from you, but a loving, responsive extension of your own consciousness. This realization, my friends, is true freedom. It's the key to creating the life you desire, to becoming the person you want to be. It's the secret to making the universe respond. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Everything you experience is a reflection of your own consciousness. Change your consciousness, and you change your world. This is the great secret, the great law. It has always been so, and it will always be so. As you leave here today, I urge you to carry this knowledge with you. Let it infuse every aspect of your life. Use your imagination lovingly and wisely. Create beautiful states for yourself and for others. Live from the state of your wishes fulfilled. For in doing so, you are not just changing your own life. You are participating in the grand dance of creation. You are fulfilling your divine purpose. You are making the universe respond, not just to your individual desires, but to the highest and best possibilities for all of creation. Go forth, my dear friends, and create wonderfully. For you are the makers of your world, the authors of your destiny. The power is within you. The time is now. The choice is yours. Thank you, and may your imagination be blessed. Tonight I shall share with you the most profound secret of creation, how to speak blessings upon yourself and instantly transform your entire world. So you see, when you truly understand how to bless yourself, you are engaging in the highest form of creation, for you are doing what God does continuously. Consider the first chapter of Genesis, where God speaks blessings upon his creation. Notice how he didn't ask anyone else to bless his work. He blessed it himself. This is the pattern you must follow, for you are that same creative power individualized as you. Let me share with you why blessing yourself is the most powerful act you can perform. First, you must understand that when you speak a blessing upon yourself, you are not engaging in mere positive thinking or affirmations. You are exercising your divine creative power, for you are God individualized as you. Many of you come to me seeking blessings from others, from teachers, from gurus, from religious leaders. But I tell you now, no one can bless you more powerfully than you can bless yourself. For you are the operant power in your world, and your word is the creative power of God in action. When you speak a blessing upon yourself, you are doing what God did in the beginning. Remember the words, and God blessed them. He didn't wait for someone else to bless his creation. He blessed it himself. And you, being made in his image and likeness, must do the same. Let me share with you the proper way to speak blessings upon yourself. First, you must understand that when you say, I bless myself, you are not speaking as a mortal being. You are speaking as God individualized. For your I am is God. And when you speak blessings from your I am, you are speaking with all the power of creation. Consider this: every time you speak a blessing upon yourself, you are literally recreating your world. For your word is God's word, and God's word cannot return void. It must accomplish that which it is sent to do. But then this is crucial: your blessings must be spoken with understanding and feeling. You cannot merely repeat words mechanically and expect results. You must feel the truth of the blessing as you speak it. For feeling is the secret. And without feeling, words are empty. Let me give you a perfect example from Scripture. When Isaac blessed Jacob, he felt the blessing as he spoke it. He wasn't just saying words, he was feeling the reality of what he was declaring. And this is exactly how you must speak blessings upon yourself. Many of you might be thinking, but Nebo, isn't it selfish to bless myself? Let me tell you something. It is the most unselfish thing you can do. For when you bless yourself, truly understanding that you are God individualized, you are blessing all of creation. For there is no other. What you see as others is yourself pushed out. Let me share with you how to properly structure your self-blessings. Begin with your I am. For this is the name of God. Then speak your blessing with absolute conviction. For example, I am blessed with perfect health. I am blessed with unlimited abundance. I am blessed with divine wisdom. But remember, these are not mere affirmations. They are acknowledgments of what is already true in consciousness. For when you speak a blessing upon yourself, you are not trying to make something true. You are acknowledging what is already true in the spiritual realm. Consider this principle I have tested and proven countless times. When you bless yourself, you are performing the highest act of creation. For in blessing yourself, you are acknowledging your divine nature, and what you acknowledge must manifest in your experience. Let me share with you the 3 aspects of effective self-blessing. First, there is recognition. When you bless yourself, you must recognize that you speak as God individualized. Not as a mortal being hoping for good, but as the divine creator declaring what is. Second, there is feeling. Your blessings must be accompanied by the feeling of their fulfillment. When you say, I am blessed with perfect health, you must feel the vitality, the strength, the well-being that this blessing implies. For feeling is the secret of creation. Third, there is acceptance. You must accept that your blessing is already fulfilled in consciousness. Not that it will be, not that it might be, but that it is. For consciousness is the only reality, and what you accept in consciousness must externalize itself in your world. Many of you make the mistake of blessing yourself while looking at your current circumstances. But I tell you now, circumstances have no power over your blessings unless you give them that power. Your blessings create circumstances, not the other way around. Let me share with you a profound truth about self-blessing that most of the world has missed. When you bless yourself, you are not asking for something to be given to you. You are acknowledging what is already yours by divine right. For all blessings already exist in consciousness, waiting to be acknowledged and claimed. Consider the words of Scripture before they call. I will answer. This means that every blessing you could ever speak upon yourself already exists in consciousness. Your speaking of the blessing is not creating it. It is acknowledging and claiming what already is. Let me share with you how to maintain the consciousness of your self-blessings throughout your day. Most people speak a blessing and then return to their old patterns of thought. But I tell you now, your blessing must become your constant inner conversation. I think about this carefully. Every time you speak a blessing upon yourself, you are literally rearranging the entire spiritual substance of your universe. For your consciousness is God, and what God blesses must manifest. Let me give you some specific blessings that I have found particularly powerful. First, I am blessed with perfect understanding of my own divine nature. This blessing opens the door to all other blessings, for when you truly understand your divine nature, all things become possible. Second, I am blessed with the constant awareness of my creative power. This blessing keeps you mindful of your true identity as God individualized. For you see, most people forget their divine nature and slip back into mortal thinking. Third, I am blessed with the ability to see past appearances to the truth of being. This blessing helps you maintain your focus on the reality of consciousness rather than the shadows of circumstances. Consider how these blessings work together. Each one strengthens the others, creating a powerful foundation for all your other blessings. For when you truly understand your divine nature, are aware of your creative power, and can see past appearances, you become a master of conscious creation. Many of you may be wondering how often to speak these blessings. Let me tell you something. It's not about frequency. It's about consciousness. One blessing spoken with complete understanding and feeling is worth more than 1,000 spoken mechanically. Let me share with you another principle about self-blessing that most people miss. When you bless yourself, you are not speaking to yourself as a mortal being. You are speaking as God to His creation. For you are both the blesser and the blessed, the creator and the creation. Think about this carefully. When God said, let there be light, He didn't doubt whether it was possible. He didn't wonder about the process. He simply declared it and knew it was done. This is exactly how you must speak your blessings upon yourself. Consider the power in this understanding. When you say, I am blessed, you are speaking with the same authority that created the universe. For your I am is the same I am that spoke all things into being. Let me share with you how to handle doubts when they arise after speaking your blessings, and they will arise. Many of you speak a blessing upon yourself and then immediately begin to question whether it will work. But I tell you now, doubt is simply your former consciousness trying to maintain its position. Consider what happens in nature when you plant a seed. The seed doesn't doubt whether it will become what it is meant to be. It simply begins its transformation according to its nature. Your blessings work the same way. They are spiritual seeds planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. Let me give you a deeper understanding of how this works. When you say, I am blessed with perfect health, for example, you have planted a seed in consciousness. Now, just as a physical seed needs time to sprout and grow, your blessing needs time to externalize itself in your world. And this is crucial, while the outer manifestation may take change in consciousness is immediate when the blessing is properly spoken. For you see, the moment you speak a blessing with understanding and feeling, you have altered the entire spiritual substance of your universe. Many of you may be thinking, but Neville, I've spoken blessings before and nothing changed. Let me tell you something my teacher Abdullah taught me. Nothing changes because you spoke the words. Things change because you became what you declare. Let me share with you another principle about self-blessing that most of the world has missed. When you bless yourself, you are not trying to influence God to give you something. You are exercising your divine power as God individualized. For your consciousness is God and your word is His word. Consider the story of the prodigal son. Notice how the father didn't wait for someone else to bless his returning son. He blessed him himself. This is exactly what you must do. You must be both the father giving the blessing and the son receiving it. This brings me to a deeper truth about self-blessing. When you say, I am blessing, you are acknowledging both your divine nature, I am, and your human experience, blessed. You are bringing heaven and earth together in your consciousness. Let me share with you what I call the 7 pillars of self-blessing. These are the foundational principles that must be understood if your blessings are to have their full creative power. The first pillar is recognition. You must recognize that you are the one who blesses. Not your personality, not your mortal self, but your I am. For when you say I am blessed, you're speaking as God individualized, not as a mortal being seeking favors. The second pillar is authority. When you bless yourself, you must speak with complete authority. Consider how God speaks in Scripture, not with doubt, not with hesitation, but with absolute authority. Let there be light. These are words of complete authority. The third pillar is feeling. Your blessings must be accompanied by the feeling of fulfillment. Not the feeling of wanting to be blessed, but the feeling of being blessed. For feeling is the secret. And without the proper feeling, your words lack power. The fourth pillar is present tense. Notice how God never said there will be light. He said, let there be light. Your blessings must be spoken in the present tense, for consciousness knows only now. The fifth pillar is persistence. Not the persistence of mechanical repetition, but the persistence of maintaining the consciousness of being blessed. For your blessing must become your dominant state of consciousness. The sixth pillar is understanding. You must understand that your blessing is not creating something new. It is acknowledging what already exists in consciousness. For all blessings already exist in the spiritual realm, waiting to be claimed. And the seventh pillar is gratitude. When you bless yourself, you must feel grateful not for what will come, but for what already is. For gratitude is the evidence of faith, and faith is the substance of things hoped for. Let me share with you how these 7 pillars work together. When you recognize your true identity as God individualized, speak with divine authority, feel the reality of your blessing, maintain present tense awareness, persist in the consciousness, understand the principle, and feel genuine gratitude, your blessing must manifest. Consider how this differs from what most people do. Most people speak blessings from their mortal consciousness, with doubt in their voice, feeling the lack rather than the fulfillment, thinking of future fulfillment, giving up at the first sign of delay, lacking understanding of the principle, and feeling no gratitude until they see results. Let me share with you what I call the 3 stages of self-blessing manifestation. Most people don't understand these stages, and that's why they often give up before their blessings manifest. The first stage is spiritual. This happens instantly when you speak your blessing with understanding and feeling. In this stage, you have literally rearranged the spiritual substance of your universe. This is the most crucial stage, for it is the only stage where real creation takes place. The second stage is mental. This is where your mind begins to align with your blessing. You start to think differently, see opportunities differently, and respond to life differently. Many people mistake this for mere positive thinking, but I tell you now, it is far more than that. It is your consciousness reorganizing itself according to your blessing. The third stage is physical. This is where your outer world begins to reflect your blessing. Now, here's what's fascinating about these stages. They must occur in this order. You cannot skip the spiritual stage and go straight to the physical. You cannot bypass the mental stage and expect outer results. Consider the words of Scripture, first the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. This is describing these three stages. The blade is the spiritual acceptance. The ear is the mental alignment. And the full corn is the physical manifestation. Let me share with you how to recognize when you're in each stage. In the spiritual stage, you feel an inner knowing, a deep peace about your blessing. There might be no outer evidence yet, but you know it is done. In the mental stage, you begin to think thoughts that align with your blessing naturally, without effort. If you've blessed yourself with abundance, for example, you naturally begin to think abundant thoughts. If you've blessed yourself with health, you naturally begin to think healthy thoughts. In the physical stage, your outer world begins to rearrange itself to match your blessing. But and this is crucial, by the time you reach this stage, you're no longer anxious about it. For you see, you've already experienced the reality of reality in consciousness. Let me give you a deeper understanding of how these stages work together. When you say, I am blessed with perfect health, you instantly create this reality in the spiritual realm. This is stage one. Then your mind begins to align with this new reality. You begin to think like a healthy person, act like a healthy person, make decisions like a healthy person. This is stage two. Finally, your body and circumstances begin to reflect this new reality. But by this time, you're no longer desperate to happen, because you've been living in the Kalpanic conscious, both perfect teachers 1 and 2. Many of you make the mistake of looking for physical evidence before you've allowed the spiritual and mental stages to complete their work. But I tell you now, this is like digging up a seed to see if it's growing. You must allow each stage to unfold in its perfect timing. Let me share with you what I call the 4 states of consciousness in self-blessing. Understanding these states is crucial, for your blessing will manifest according to the state from which you speak it. The first state is the state of desire. This is where most people begin. They speak blessings from a consciousness of wanting, of needing, of lacking. But I tell you now, this state cannot produce results, for it perpetuates the very lack it seeks to overcome. The second state is the state of hope. This is better than desire, but still not powerful enough. When you speak blessings from hope, you are acknowledging that fulfillment is possible, but you haven't yet accepted it as fact in consciousness. The third state is the state of faith. Now we're moving into creative power. When you speak blessings from faith, you are speaking with conviction, with certainty, with knowing. But there's an even higher state. The fourth state is the state of knowing. This is the highest state, the state from which God creates. When you speak blessings from this state, you are speaking as God individualized, knowing that what you declare must manifest. Consider how these states progress. In the state of desire, you say, I want to be blessed. In the state of hope, you say, I might be blessed. In the state of faith, you say, I will be blessed. But in the state of knowing, you simply say, I am blessed. Let me share with you how to move from one state to another. The movement from desire to hope happens naturally as you study and understand the law. The movement from hope to faith happens through testing the law and seeing results. But the movement from faith to knowing, this is the crucial transition. The state of knowing comes when you fully realize your own divine nature. When you understand that you are God individualized, that your consciousness is the only reality, that your word is God's word, then you naturally speak blessings from the state of knowing. Many of you may be wondering how to achieve this state of knowing. Let me tell you something, it's not achieved. It's recognized. It's not something you become, it's something you already are. Your task is to remove the veils that hide this truth from your awareness. Let me share with you what I call the 5 proofs of effective self-blessing. These are the signs that tell you your blessing is taking root in consciousness and must therefore manifest in your world. The first proof is peace. When you've spoken a blessing effectively, you feel a deep peace about it. Not the peace of resignation, but the peace of knowing. For you see, when you truly know something is done in consciousness, all anxiety about it disappears. The second proof is naturalness. Your blessing begins to feel natural to you. You no longer have to convince yourself of it. It becomes as natural as breathing, as natural as your own name. The third proof is indifference to appearances. You find yourself unmoved by contradictory circumstances, not because you're practicing positive thinking, but because you know the reality exists in consciousness, not in appearance. The fourth proof is changed inner conversation. Your habitual thoughts and internal dialogue naturally align with your blessing. You don't have to force it. It happens spontaneously because consciousness always produces thoughts that match its state. The fifth proof is inspired action. You find yourself naturally taking actions that align with your blessing, not from effort or planning, but from an inner prompting that feels completely natural. Remember, dear friends, that speaking blessings upon yourself is not an act of egotism. It is an acknowledgement of your divine nature. For you are God individualized, and your word has all the creative power of the universe behind it when spoken from that understanding. Let the truth of this sink deep into your consciousness. You are blessed, not because someone else blessed you, but because you have recognized and claimed your divine inherent through the power of self-blessing. That's the message I want to leave with you tonight. Not because it's comfortable, but because it's true. Not because it's what you expected to hear, but because it's what you needed to hear. Remember, your blessings create your reality when spoken from the consciousness of who you really are. And isn't that worth thinking about?